Welcome to Boris FX Live. Sponsored by Dell Precision Workstations. Create without limits. And by NVIDIA. And Intel.
Hello and welcome everyone to Boris FX Live. I'm Ben Brownlee for Boris FX, and I'm sorry to say we've got a bit of a different show today than originally planned. Our first booked guest, Darren Mostyn, has unfortunately injured himself and won't be able to join us today. He will be back at a later date and we wish him a speedy recovery. He may even be in the chat if you want to add your well wishes down there. And our other guest, Damien Levesque, has also had a last minute emergency. So we'll have to have him back soon to talk about cloud-based Resolve workflows with his feature film, Good Luck, Nightingale. So I've filed all of my questions back into my Rolodex, ready to retrieve them when the time comes. But don't worry, we have actually managed to secure another certified master Resolve trainer, and they're going to show you some ways to speed up working with Sapphire and other OFX filters inside of Resolve's color room. That person is me. Yeah, I'm going to be running a couple of short sessions for you and taking as many Resolve questions as you can throw at me. I'll also be joined in front of the camera by Mr. Brian Fox, currently sitting doing the important button pressing at Mission Control. Brian's going to be sharing some secrets to getting beautiful, unique transitions in Resolve's edit page. So basically, we've still got a great show ahead of us. Now, because it is Boris FX Live, we want you to get involved too. And let's see how you can do just that. So, like I said, join in the chat. We will be answering your questions live. If you're watching on YouTube or on borisfxlive.com, then the chat box is just to the right of your viewer. So be tippity-tapping in there and we will get to as many questions as we can answer. There's another reason you might want to be joining us at Boris FX Live, and that is, of course, our chance to win our competition today, and we have some great prizes to give away too. So all you have to do to enter the draw is go down to the bottom of the page, fill in your details, and you'll be entered for a chance to win one of our fabulous prizes. And what are we giving away today? Well, we have got 2 annual subscriptions of Sapphire, each a $495 value. So 2 of those are going to, or one of those is going to 2 lucky winners, 2 in total. And we also are going to be giving away the Boris FX Suite. So an annual subscription to everything that we make, including Sapphire, Continuum, Mocha Pro, Silhouette, and of course, Optics. That's a $1,295. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, $1,295 value there. Going away to 1 lucky winner. So head on over to borisfxlive.com and enter in all your details there. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that little like button as well to let people know we are streaming live. But of course, we can't do this without our sponsors. I want to say thank you very much to NVIDIA, Dell, and Intel for helping to make these streams possible. I especially want to say thank you to Dell and the Precision 3630 tower. It's cost effective, it's scalable performance in a mini tower design. They said it couldn't be done. Dell Technologies said otherwise. So thanks all very much to all of our sponsors there for helping to make the dreams come true. All right, let's bring in my my co-host for the day. Brian, are you there in Mission Control?
I think I'm here. Am I here?
I think you're there. I think you're there. You are here. You are here. Yes.
I love that your Dell slide. It's always evolving, right? It's always something new with your thoughts on the Dell Precision workstation. They did it. They did it.
I'm never quite sure which slide is coming. They did it.
Good to see you, Ben. Good to see you, Ben. Ready for a fun show? Ready to talk some Resolve?
I am. I am. I mean, we've both been scrambling last minute to get this together, but I think we've got something interesting to have a look at.
Absolutely.
Should we?
Let's get into it. I'm looking forward to learning some tips from you because
so.
I am less than stellar in Resolve, so I will be writing down all your quick tips.
That's good. Well, I think Resolve is going to be the least of my worries. It's going to be figuring out how I've got the Stream Deck set up now, because this is, of course, the first time that we've done this for a little while, so let's have a little look. Right, you should be seeing my lovely little screen there.
Looks good.
Excellent. And if people aren't careful, you're going to be seeing me in the middle there for some of the time. All right. Well, let's have a little look. We're in Resolve here. I'm going to start off actually with a little quick tip, I think, because this is always good when we're starting off to work with effects in Resolve. So I'm in the edit page, and I've got a little adjustment layer on here, adjustment clip, and on top of this adjustment clip I have got an effect. It's a little color fuse effect, and you might notice at the top of my timeline here it is in fact blue, and the reason it's blue is because this clip is cached. So if I play this through, it's playing back at 24 frames a second, as you can see in the top left hand corner. Everything's nice, everyone's happy. Now Resolve's got several different layers of cache, which we won't get into right at this moment, but the render cache is probably a big one for when we're wanting to play stuff back real time. We'll see effects in real time. Now, I don't always leave this on, and the reason for that is if we come over to our effects over here, into our inspector, if I start to play around with this slider, I should be expecting to see some little feedback of what's happening, but that's not happening yet. And the reason for that is in the background, Resolve is trying to frantically trash that cache that it's made up for me and generate up a new one. So when I'm in the process of fiddling about with colors, I'm actually with effects, I'm going to come into my render cache and turn that off. I'm going to set that to none. So it means that when we come back here, I now have proper feedback of what it is, what I'm trying to do with these effects. And that makes things a lot more interactive and a lot more fun. So that is my quick tip number one. Don't always have your render cache on. If you're doing lots of stuff in the old effect, turn it off for a little bit, and then you can turn it back on later. We're going to come back to why you might use Smart and User in a little bit, but that's just a little one for you. Let's actually come over to this one here, I think. Yeah, so we're going to move into the color room in just a second, but I'm just going to play you back this timeline, which really has two separate scenes. We have our first scene with the girl by the train tracks here, or the bridge, whatever it is. I think it's a mixture of both. And then we've got our second scene here, which cuts straight over to another completely different scene, different mood, different everything. Now, when I'm doing any sort of color grading, the first thing that I want to do is actually sort of break this up into different groups. So how you break the groups up is usually usually different between the little scenes, but you can see the whole of this first scene. Like basically, I just want to add like one big sort of color effect over the top of everything, with the exception maybe of this one, which sort of falls out a little bit, so that it's a little bit more yellow in comparison to the sort of green of these. So what I want to do at this point is kind of group all of this stuff together, and then maybe group all of this stuff together as well. And this is something that's actually really, really easy to do in Resolve in the color page. So if I come in and open up with the clips just in the top right hand corner, actually I'm blocking it out. I can point to it. Wrong way. There we go. Just there. If I turn that on and come down, I'm going to turn myself off so we can have a bit more free space in the right hand corner. What I can do is I can select all of the clips that are in the area or in the scene that I want to work with as a group, I can right click on one of those and I can actually just add that into a new group, or I can look at groups that I've already created. So for example, here I've got two groups. One's called Girl Bridge and the other one's called Bright Apartment. And I could assign all of these into my Girl Bridge group. And I can come into these two here and stop turning my caps lock on. There we go. And maybe I'll make this into a new group and I'll give this a name. I'll call this one Daytime Apartment instead. There we go. So we know what's going on. So if I select both, like one of the clips in this group, you can see all of the clips are linked together. So you see they've got the little chain down at the bottom. And likewise, if I go over to this other group here, those are all chained together too. So where this comes, into its own is when I want to sort of just be searching for all the clips in just one particular group. This, like, if I want to focus on one scene, for example, or everything that's shot in one location, if I come back up to the top right hand corner under clips, I can actually come down here and take a look at the clips that are grouped into my certain groups. So if I go Girl Bridge there, it's now only going to show me the clips from the Girl Bridge. So that's kind of nice. Let's get rid of the effect for a second so we can have a little look here. So probably the first thing that I want to do is come in and get rid of my nodes there for a sec. So just try and make as much space as possible here. There we go. Yes, if I come along here, what I might want to do is just come in and let's just reset all grades on this. Let's see if that's broken. Oh, I've managed to not. There we go. I've not cleaned up my project. Shh. No one noticed that. So yeah, I'm going to come into this clip here and I'm just going to do the first bit of color matching between the shots. So I want all the shots in the group to have like a similar sort of look and feel to them before I start working on a group. So if I come to this one here, I'll just grab this as a still. Let's come into my galleries. I've already got that as a still a few times. And let's come to our second clip. And we can sort of just come in here and I'll just do like a very, very basic primary correction on this. Maybe let's take the tint down a wee bit there. There we go. I'm not going to go too deep into this. Let's take the shadows down just so I can get it looking relatively similar. So it feels like it's in the same area. Just push that over there a little bit. That's looking better anyway. Let's have a look. Before, after. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. We put a little bit of green into the shadows. Bring those shadows down. But that seems good to me. So now everything's sort of coming in and looks, relatively similar, relatively the same. So they all fit within the same area. We can start to look at things within a group now. And to look at a group or to start grading on a group, I'm going to come up to the top right hand corner and I'm going to click on this thing where it says clip. And usually if we don't have group selected, that's only going to say clip or timeline. So it's only going to give us a choice of doing grades on just the individual clip that we're on or on the timeline as a whole. If we do groups, if we have groups, we also have the opportunity to look at groups pre-clip, which means we correct the group before we do any individual corrections, or we do the group post-clip. And that's what we're going to do now because we've done all of our sort of balancing to get everything looking right. So now we've got that, I can add in another serial node over here. and then we can start doing any sort of corrections we want across the group. I'm just going to do something ridiculous just so we can see what's happening. You see now, if I turn the clips on, everything's getting that same look and that same grade. Cool. So the reason I'm doing this is I want to use an effect, and I want to use a particular effect, which is the Sapphire color fuse effect. So I'm going to come into my effects, and I'm going to go S color, and there we go, S color fuse pops in. Now, I don't know about you, but I never grade or never put any effects on the first node. The first node I always sort of leave as sacred for any sort of corrections that I want to do across the whole thing, and then effects come in after that node. That node is my little sort of safety valve. Even if there's no color correction going on it, I know that node is going to be safe. So if we come into color fuse though, this is the effect that I actually want to have a little look at. And let's bring the clips down so we've got a bit more space to look at it. And actually color fuse is a rather simple, straightforward effect. It's really got 3 controls. Once you get past the drop downs that I'm now currently sat under or sat over, the host color space, the LUT color space, we've really got 3 buttons and 3 sliders, and that's it. Because what color fuse is, it's a way of being able to mix and match different LUTs together. LUTs have been a part of colorists' workflow for a very long time, and the creative use of LUTs has also been part of many people's workflows for many years now as well. Now, one of the problems that I always had was when I was trying to sort of mix my own stuff together, because I've got a little library of stuff that I put together. Mixing that stuff together was always rather tricky, because you'd have to have 3 nodes and you'd have to go in and change keys and stuff like that to try and blend that in. It was always a bit painful. So color fuse takes away a lot of that pain. If I load up a preset, we can have a little look at this in a bit more detail. Okay, so the first time we load up the preset browser, it takes a little while just to wake up. But once it's awake, we're here. We're awakened and alive. Let's make our thumbnails a little bit smaller for now. So color fuse comes with 81 presets, and I think it's about 50 different LUTs that it ships with, and we break these down into different areas. Now, I could be clicking on these, and we would see what's happening up here, but unfortunately, there's just a little bit of a problem with the preset browser in Resolve, so it's not spitting out the preview image for color fuse here, which is a bit annoying, but not the end of the world, because we have some lovely little preview thumbnails to show us what we're doing. But basically, these looks are broken up into 4 different areas. So we have BW for black and white. So that's a black and white film stock emulation. We have C for color stock emulation. I go all the way down to the bottom. We have S for stylized looks. So these could be things like false color, or orange and teal blockbuster type things. Or we have M, and M are the ones that are most interesting as presets, I think, because M are mixtures of the other looks. So if I come in, maybe I'll take something like, actually, I don't know what I want. So maybe I'll go into the filters here, and we can filter by color. So we have a look at all the brown ones. So we've got combat action late in the morning, or we can filter by something that's a bit desaturated. So very desaturated in the case of the black and white ones. Or we can also filter by version number. So if you want to just have a look at the newest goodness, then we just click on the 2022.5 and we have all the new ones for us right here. So if I choose something, it doesn't really matter which one I choose. I'll choose late in the day because that's right there. Or maybe actually independent hit. Possibly, that could be good. And this will now load in those LUTs for us, and we can just sort of be mixing those together to find out where the balance actually lies. And a lot of the time, you know, at this stage, we're not really looking for, you know, huge, big, overly complex stylization filters. What we're looking for, because we've got everything, you know, already graded at this stage usually, is we're just looking for that one little thing just to tip it over the edge. And if we're not quite tipped at this point, have a little look. I still have one of these buttons empty. See, my LUT strength here is set down to 0, which means that LUT is still empty. So I can hit choose LUT, and that will open up my little LUT folder here. So these are all the ones that come with Sapphire. And we can have a little look. Same naming conventions. C color, S stylize, B black and white. And maybe I'll choose, what I choose here. It doesn't really matter, Ben. Stop making this a big crisis. Let's go with Dry County. Why not? And then I can come in, I can just bring this up and we can see what that's doing. I don't like that. No, Ben, that was a wrong one. I'm going to go with one of the color films. I think we'll go with, Fuji Provia there. Just bring that up just a little bit. Yeah, like that. That's what I want. And look at the before and the after, before and the after. We like that. Then that's all very cool. If we don't like that and we need to change things up a little bit, well, here's the reason that I brought this back in. If this has given it a little bit too much contrast, maybe for what we're going for, why not just touch the contrast down on the node previous? There we go. And we've got something that's not, you know, we're not going absolutely over the top crazy with this. We're just giving ourselves like enough interest here just to sort of give a little bit of a twist on what we're doing, and just to give it that sort of that little loving kiss that I like to call it. So we're taking it from something normal and we're sort of twisting it in a little bit. And admittedly, these are things that you could do without using color fuse, but it would take much more than the 45 seconds that it took me to find what the look it was that I wanted to add on to it. I should also say that when we're in color fuse here, thank you very much for auto saving Resolve. I appreciate it. Yeah, I should say that when we're in color fuse and we're choosing a LUT using the little buttons here, we don't have to use the ones that come with Sapphire. If you've got your own LUT library, absolutely use those. Go wild. If they're dot cube LUTs, you're in flavor country. There we go. And there's other stuff I want to do, but I'm always going to be a bit conscious of time because we've got a lot of stuff to go through.
Hey, quick question.
Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one last thing. Yes, please, Brian.
So Bart was wondering about the LUTs that come with color fuse. Are those 65 cube? Yes, that's what I thought.
They are. Of course they are.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for confirming.
Only the highest number of cubes, or the highest number of points for people.
We would never go 33.
We actually, we're not touching our 17, 16, 17, whatever it was. I mean, that does bring up a little interesting point, because I've made a lot of these LUTs. I think all of these LUTs. And there was a point where I thought I was going to be able to cheat and recycle some of my old stuff that I'd actually been using for my old sort of production work. So, you know, these were sort of locked treasures that had seen me good for many years, and I thought, oh, it's going to be easy. I'm just going to bring those in, give them a cutesy name, and everyone's going to think I'm a genius. I came to look at those LUTs, and they were actually not the quality of points that I wanted to. So you could actually see it in some of the footage. We did, you know, extensive testing with these on lots of different types of footage, and there were things which would just sort of flatten out and just go, yeah, we can't be doing that. We can't be doing that. So all of this stuff I just had to roll from scratch again. So when I was doing that, you know, probably one of the things that is really important to know is that so much care and attention has been put into making these things that you would, you know, use in the highest quality productions. You know, we are very, very careful and conscious of preserving memory colors, things like skin, doing interesting things with skies and with grass and with, you know, with greenery, but doing it with care, because we know that, you know, these can't just be like random LUTs that you find on the internet that seem cool for one piece of footage. Like, these actually have to work with people who are doing this not just for a living, but working on the on high quality productions as well. So these can't just be random things that look great on one piece of footage. These have to be something that are, you know, carefully thought about and have been tested in many different sort of situations to work there, and make sure that your skin colors don't just sort of suddenly turn you know, bright blue or something, or even, you know, even shadows and highlights are sort of carefully managed. So that was my little rant about that, because I think it's important. You know, I think it's important that there is a lot of care put into these, a lot of thought. Can do one last thing before we hand it back off and start giving some stuff away and taking questions, and that is to look at that render cache one more time, because I'm back in the edit page here. I'm going to come over to this one over here, this clip over here. I'm just going to put color fuse on over here as well. I'm going to try and spell color fuse. There we go. Let's drag that onto this one. I'm actually just going to keep this at default settings, because it really doesn't matter what we do with it. So we'll come over here, see where, there we go. So you can see with this one, we just play this through. It's not cached in. I'm getting, and what am I getting? Don't give me 24 frames a second. Don't do that to me. All right, it's giving me 24 frames a second, so this is going to be a bad one to show. Well, let's just pretend. Let's pretend that I need to cache this clip. So if I came in to do smart caching, then Resolve is going to be in control of what clips it thinks it's going to cache, or what clips it wants to cache. If you've got a really big timeline, you might be sort of hanging around for quite a while it generates up all that stuff for you. And if you've got things down the line that you haven't even worked on yet that you want to be working on, then smart cache isn't always the way to go. If you want to just look at a particular area, user is a good place to start. Now, the thing with user is you've got to tell Resolve exactly what it is you want to cache. So if I right click on the clip, you can see it's going to ask if I want to cache the fusion output, set to auto. Come back to that later. If I want to cache the color output, or if I want to cache the OFX filters. So if I go, yes, please cache color fuse for me, it's going to have a little think and go, oh yeah, no, I'll cache color fuse for you. Yeah, that'll be all right. But sometimes it's not going to want to cache color fuse. It's just going to sort of sit there going, yeah, I should cache color fuse, but I've got something else to do at the moment. What are you going to do for me? And so you say, Resolve, come on now. You do actually want to cache this. So what you do is you then also tell it to cache the color output as well. And that will then force the, we go, see it right there. So it's going to force the caching to come on that. And there is a reason for that. I'm going to come in. I'm going to play you a screenshot, not just any old screenshot. This is a screenshot from the manual. Yes, I have read the 3,000 page Resolve manual from front to back several times. And this basically just goes through the render process, like where it's going to be doing its various its various processing. So it's bringing in the source media, it's doing any sort of raw debayering that it has to do. Then going to go and do any clip attributes, render those in that order. Then the fusion effects, then the edit or cut page inspector adjustments. So that's all this stuff like with the video and flipping and doing all of that sort of fun stuff. And after that, it's going to be doing any sort of filters, effects that we have put on in the cut page. And only then is it going to come in, and finally at the end of that chain, it's going to do the color effects for me. So by forcing it in here to render the cache color output, we're forcing it to render the whole chain. But remember, of course, if you've got multiple OFX filters and you want all of those to be cached, cache them all up here. And make sure they're cached, because otherwise they're not going to be. So here we go. And that's a little look at color fuse, and a slightly bigger look than I was expecting at Resolve and Resolve caching. Do we have questions? I hope we have questions. Let me find my main camera. That's me. There we go.
Sorry, just turning the mic on here. So I think you answered all the questions we had out there. Darren's in the chat and popping off some good knowledge. So hi, Darren. Hope you feel better. Heal up, my friend.
Absolutely.
One thing that that I was thinking about while you were watching. Let me see if I can do 3 things at once here. So I'll tell you what I love about color fuse is the cross-platform nature, right? So I am an editor at heart, yes. And being able to share a Sapphire preset, say from Premiere to Resolve, using color fuse LUTs, possibly using your own LUTs. And the cool part is the LUT is part of the Sapphire preset. So Ben could share, one of his super secret LUTs that he doesn't give out to me, right? So you could actually send me a color fuse preset, and I could load that in Premiere and slap it on, and now have the exact same grade and your custom LUT, because it is stored within the preset. I think that's really cool. So that's right. You could do that with any LUT. You could do that with color fuse LUTs. That type of cross-platform nature really is cool. Would love if in the future maybe that could pass along some sequence data from Premiere to Resolve. That would definitely be nice. Our dream. But as of right now, what you want to do is save the preset, export the preset to disk. It's a little text file, and then go ahead and import it in another system, and that information will be embedded in the Sapphire effect. So that is really cool, I think.
I mean, because I've seen people use that workflow quite a lot when moving between hosts, and I've also had someone tell me that it actually helps to sort of cut out a bit of back and forth when people are sort of trying to find the direction that they want to go with for a particular look, because even if they're not doing like the final look within their edit before they're passing it over to the colorist. They're actually being able to say, well, this isn't the final look. You're going to be able to do your magic, but this is the idea. This is the direction that we were thinking of. So it's a sort of a much more tangible mood board than just a series of stills from other films or from other other areas that people are interested in. I think that's some of the feedback that I've got from people who are working with this.
Cool. Yes. Looks like Darren has a question. So do we stress test all the presets, Ben? I know the answer to this is absolutely yes, right?
Of course. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, 100%.
When we're doing, when we're looking at any of this stuff, like we look at it with various types of footage from various sources, and we also look at it with boring computer generated stuff as well. Look at me after I've finished doing this, and I will tell you every little value of a gradient that you could possibly want. So we do look at this a lot, not just on natural footage or on random shot. We look at it with an eye to people actually wanting to use this and needing to use this in heavy stress situations.
Yeah, absolutely. I view it as like there's the creative almost stress testing, Ben, where when you're creating these LUTs, you're exactly that, making sure making sure they work in all situations. And then there's the other side. There's just the straight QA part, like making sure that when you load this in Media Composer, it's gonna look the same. All of these things work as all that. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that. Any preset we put in Sapphire is definitely a lot of thought is put into it. Ben, I say let's quit talking about Sapphire. Let's give Sapphire away, right? Why not?
Let's give some stuff. We're changing lives, one Sapphire license at a time.
One at a time.
All right.
I am ready.
I'm going to move my screen over here so I can read who's the winner.
Here we go.
Right. The drums are rolling, and we have our first winner, who is Thomas Gellert. Thomas Gellert. I'm 100% sure I've mangled your surname. Thomas, thank you very much for watching today. You are our first lucky winner, and you've won an annual subscription to Sapphire. That is a $495 value, and of course includes Color Fuse. We still have lots of stuff to give away. We still have lots of things to talk about. If you are enjoying the stream so far and you're watching on YouTube, hit that little thumbs up button. We want to see lots and lots of big sort of thumbs going up there. Thank you very much. If you are watching on Boris FX Live, there's nothing to stop you from going over to YouTube, hitting that thumbs up. Nothing to stop you at all. If you are on Boris FX Live and you haven't entered the competition yet, then we still have some prizes to give away. We've got one more annual subscription of Sapphire to go, and coming up towards the end of the stream, we are also giving away a copy of the Boris FX Suite. So that's everything that we make, including Sapphire, including Continuum, including Mocha Pro, Silhouette, and Optics. So you are watching Boris FX Live. We are looking at Resolve today and Sapphire. So we've got a lot of things happening soon. We are going to be talking about transitions in Sapphire with Brian. We are coming up a bit later. We're going to be looking at some lighting and blurring effects. And we've got several other little quick tips to give you as well. So a lot of stuff to come. We are going to be doing our best with our lovely new stream. So let's get on with it, shall we, Brian? It's you're up next, mate.
Absolutely. Okay, so I thought today we'd go through a little bit of one of my favorite areas of Sapphire, which is Sapphire transitions. I'm going to show you guys like how to get at Sapphire transitions, where they are in the edit panel, what they can do. I'm going to a little focus on the new ones we've done, Whiplash and Hyper Push, that have gone in Sapphire 2022, which is some of I know Ben and I's favorites. And then we're going to get into the transition builder, which is by far, I know this is the fun stuff. So along the way, I may throw in a Resolve quick tip, which should be shocking for anyone who knows me, and possibly Ben may have taught me this quick tip yesterday, right? So I will pass along the knowledge.
Who knows?
All right, so let's get started. I am going to switch over
I'll
to
be in
my
chat.
screen. Let me know if you can see me,
you're
Ben.
looking good.
Looking good. Excellent. Okay. All right. So Sapphire transitions, we have a ton of them, right? Like, so I believe there's over 100 transitions. There's a ton of presets. We're always kind of adding new transitions too as well. You can see in this little sequence I cut together, we use a lot of like really fast transitions. Like some of these are hyper push you're seeing in Whiplash in there. But there's also a lot of different transitions that work really well at long links. So you'll see we have some of these really funky different dissolves in here. There's a nice edge-aware blur dissolve, which produces a watercolor look. And one of those dissolves at the end uses Sapphire Glow Darks and Hotspots, which is some of my favorites. So it's almost like an advanced, elevated dip to black, which you can still like kind of maintain some highlights in. So Sapphire Transitions is just a huge big bag of tricks. And I think as an editor, we're always kind of looking for like, how can we make something sizzle? How can we make something kind of move quicker? Maybe you have some really bad edits in there, you know, shots that don't have motion that you're trying to connect. This is where we look to transitions. I'm a firm believer that the best transition is the infamous one frame dissolve, aka the straight cut, right? But the reality is that most times, we just don't have motion. We just don't have anything really interesting in the shot, and we're trying to bridge this. I can think of many reality shows that open up with a cold open that lean heavily on transitions to kind of get through stock shots of Los Angeles, right? So it's like this is really where transitions come into play. Sapphire transitions, like all of our effects, right? They are all cross-platform. So if you are, like, say, working on your edit like I may have done in Premiere on this, and then, dragged your XML over to Resolve, the way to get those transitions over is just like I spoke about earlier. You want to save your preset, export that preset to the desktop, and re-import that into Resolve, and all your settings will be there as well with the exact length. They do not follow right now along any sort of AAF or XML, but that is something we definitely are working towards. It is a long goal of mine. Stick with me, coach. I will guarantee you I will not leave this industry without 100% trying to get third-party effects to follow along an AAF. I hear stories from editors who are just, please stop making me redo hundreds and hundreds of transitions by hand. Let them work with it as well. So that's my pitch. Let's go ahead and jump in to Resolve here. Alrighty, so all of our effects, I'm in the edit panel here. This is where you want to access all your effects. They all will show up under Open Effects Transitions. You can see I am super fortunate. I have the full Continuum package as well as Sapphire here. So when you click on Sapphire, it's going to pre-filter all of your different transitions. And actually, I learned this pretty cool. If you hover over your cuts, it'll actually Resolve will give you a nice little preview in your record window as to what actually this transition does. But it's simply as dragging an effect right on a cut here. Let's go ahead and delete this one here, and I'm going to go down and grab one of my favorites, which is Hyper Push. So if you grab Hyper Push and just throw it on the cut, right, it works just like a dissolve. As we talked about earlier, I have Smart Cache on, and I will say, here is my quick tip that Ben taught me. If I go into Master Settings, in Project Settings in Master, and automatically cache transitions in user mode. That way, if my cache is in user mode or smart mode, it's going to automatically cache those transitions. I can't think of a situation, me personally, where I would not want that transitions to auto cache. So that is my tip for you. Either be in smart mode in your cache or in user. And if you're in user, definitely automatically cache those transitions. So you can see here, that's my default setting. If I want to jump into the params of HyperPush, you want to highlight your transition and pull down the inspector, right? And you'll see here's my HyperPush. Here are all my params. Most importantly, like with all Sapphire effects, we try and order these from top down in order of importance. So what's my top effect here? Load preset. We have tons of presets with these effects, and these are the ways to really check these out. So here is a little example here. You'll see it'll play through a couple times and it'll cache. You're seeing like a freeze frame at the front and in the back because for a while, the Sapphire preset browser would just preview the exact transition. And if you're at a short length, like say maybe a 10 frame or a 12 frame transition, it would just loop so fast you couldn't even kind of see what was happening. So what we do now is basically take the previous frame and the last frame and we freeze it for a second to give you a little pad. So if you're looping through and you want to kind of check out all of these different hyper pushes and hyper pulls, you can kind of see what's going on as well. So tons of nice presets. You'll see what hyper push and hyper pull, their kind of sister effects here are. It is a classic kind of zoom blur with a bunch of motion blur added on top. It's a way that definitely works great if you have shots of different focal lengths and you want to kind of push through, or if you're going from a close image to a far away image, that's where you want to use hyper pull and you can kind of pull back through that. But what I love about these effects in hyper pull and hyper push is like, that's really just the beginning of what you can do with it. Let me jump back in to Resolve and I'll load this one up here. We'll let it cache. You can see here's where we have our kind of different parameters in terms of the overall Z distance, what you want to push through to and what you want to pull out. But as we move down, you'll see we can add in camera shake, we can add in motion blur, we can add in a little glow right into the middle so we can kind of glow out to white. We can glow out to black with glow darks, which I really love here. So rather than doing a classic, push through and covering the cut with a big white flash, we can cover it with a nice, beautiful black glow as well. We have chromatic aberration we can add in this too, and we can add on distort RGB as well if we want to put in some nice little lens distortion in the middle there. So tons of options with hyper pull and hyper push. And so that is like really like a classic Sapphire effect in my mind. You can do a straight clean push or a pull, and then you can continue to add on all of these different parameters and get a really nice different transition as well. Another new one that was added in recently is Whiplash, which is the second transition in the stack here, you'll see. And what Whiplash is basically a kind of whip pan, swish pan, whatever you want to call it. But rather than just traveling kind of one length of the camera, we're like whipping from one edge of the frame to the other, you can add in a ton, a lot. So let's go ahead and step into this one as well. Let me just grab this one. And I'm going to load this preset and show you guys some of the presets of here. You'll see where we can add in some different directions on the whiplash. We can add in, from going in different corners, upper left, upper right. We can kind of shrink it down as well. But the effect I really want to point out, let's go back to just the sweep here. And I'm going to reset that. Under whiplash here is right here. So this is the shift, right? These are the amount of whips we're going to move by. So if you turn this up to a really high value, this is how many times you're going to whip right through your image. So we're going to get 3 different kind of left to right whips in here. That is going to move by really quick. Let me take a second to render that out as well. There is also some different ways you can end your whip and whiplash. So if you want a nice smooth finish, you can go ahead and choose smooth, and that's going to really curve that keyframe. You can bounce it, so it's going to land and bounce back, or you can snap it and have it snap into place as well for a really kind of rough finish. So a bunch of different options. Let's go ahead and play through here now. And you can see I have a really fast whiplash in there. So like I said, the classic Sapphire whip pan is just going to go from one edge of the image to the other. With whiplash, we can kind of travel large distances where we're basically taking the image, combining it, blurring it so you can't even tell, and almost covering a large distance with that whiplash as well. So whiplash and hyper push and hyper pull, these are definitely some of my new favorites. I'm going to jump in to Builder now and kind of show you guys the S transition, because it is by far my favorite, right? So let me jump into a clean sequence and do this from scratch. I want to kind of get into S transition because, to be honest with you, like, I'm at this point, I don't even really use any transition but S transition. So it's like, I'm a big Lord of the Ring fan. I like to say that S transition is the one transition to rule them all. It's really the only one you need. I just dragged on the cut. Let me play through, and you can see it is a glorious dissolve. It is supremely boring at its preset. That's because S transition is really, it is a blank slate. It is a canvas. It can become anything we want it to be. It is actually all of Sapphire transitions jam-packed into one uber transition with a ton of different parameters. So it defaults to a dissolve because it just doesn't know what to be yet. So if I click edit effect, we're going to launch our builder. And this is a little application that we've created. You're now kind of inside Sapphire here. If you've never used this before, there's another version called S effect and S transition. They're both, interchangeably. One is just to build a static effect and the other is to build a transition. So you can see here we have our from clip, we have our transition, and we have our to clip. So if I change this dissolve to anything, let me just change it to a dissolve blur here. Just cache this through here as it goes. You'll see here now that I've just made a dissolve blur transition. Here are all my params on the left and the right. I can kind of, let's go and we'll do a classic vertical little Y blur there. And any of the parameters you see here that are checked off, you can actually turn, let's keep those on. I'm going to turn off everything else except the blur rel X and Y. If I hit OK and jump back in, you'll see now that those are the only parameters that come back into Resolve. So this is the concept of, you are building your own custom transition, but you're also building basically a little plugin. So a lot of times people use this, me personally, like I might just have this as my blur transition and this is all I really want. And so you can clean up the param stack. So you can use it in a very simple way, or you can use it in a real complex way. We just did a simple transition here, but that's really just the beginning. Let's say I have my dissolve blur, and now I want to go ahead and let's search my whole Sapphire effects here, because everything, you can keyword search these. Let's look for glow. And now I have added a dissolve blur, but I have a glow over the top of everything. So let's go ahead and add on the glow. Let's turn the threshold down. I now have a glow and a blur, which I've definitely referred to in the past as a glur. We can tweak the little RGB values to add in a little blue here. And then let's say, you know what? I'm actually, I'm not digging this dissolve blur. Let's do something different. Like let's maybe grab, I don't know, let's maybe hyper pull or hyper push, right? And then let's think about it. Yeah, let's turn that glow down a little bit now. And let's tweak the threshold a little bit. And it's just really a fun way to work. You can see here, it's almost like working with just almost like a visual synthesizer. You can just kind of add on different effects. Let's say I'm not digging that one. Let's go ahead and maybe let's go to, okay, film roll, right? And now we can tweak film rolls things. Let's turn up the speeds on that and get something really custom. So, you're basically unlimited. You can keep adding effects on in here. Anything you add on post the transition will affect everything. But let's say you just wanted to affect the first clip. Let's go ahead and drag that blur on there. So now I'm just blurring the front clip. If I just preview this selected node, you can see it's just a little blur happening. But then looking at it in full context, it is blurring the front. Well, let's say I'm sick of my film roll. I want to go back to, let's maybe think about a dissolve glint here, and reconnect that. You can see now I'm just going to black, so we connect that on, right? So it's really an infinite amount of choices. And then once we go back to Resolve, like I said, you could turn off all of these glint parameters and say, don't touch that. You know what? I want to leave on the brightness of the glow because I'm going to need that for custom shots, but I want to leave the blur on, and jump back into Resolve. And now we have our own little custom transition with just those parameters I selected. So pretty cool stuff with Builder. You kind of see why, in many ways, I often like if I even am using Hyper Push or Hyper Pull as a single effect, I'm probably always using those in S transition at this point because I really just almost can't go back. I'm always turning off parameters and thinking, you know what, I don't need half these. I want a cleaner param layout. Or I may want to just add multiple effects together. It seems sometimes very limited when I go back and have to just use a single effect now. So S transition is pretty much ingrained in me at this point to be constantly using those. That's not even really the coolest part I like about S transition. Let me jump back in right now and talk about S transition presets. If I hit load, if I actually hit edit effect and then hit load preset, or if I'm in Resolve and I just hit load preset, either one, you're going to go into our preset browser, just like Ben showed you earlier, but it's a little different than what Ben showed you, because since we're inside Builder, S transition or S effect here, there's some different categories. You can see groups, transition, and builder effects. The reason why it's different is because I mentioned earlier that S transition is every single 270 plus Sapphire effects jammed into one effect. So think of it as one effect with 30,000 parameters. It can become anything. And because of that, this one preset browser can now sort all the different transitions by categories. So you'll see here are all our wipes, but let's go back, and here are all the lighting transitions, right? Here are all the ones specifically that use glow. Here are all the glitchy, damagey type stuff as well. Because, like I said, this can become any sort of effect. You can see here there's channel change, there's film rolls, there's pixel sort, a bunch of different effects are in here. Because in the past, you would have had to actually go ahead and drag dissolve pixel sort onto an effect and then look at its presets. Now you just drag S transition and you look at all the presets, right? So it's a really, I think faster and smarter way to work. It kind of seems crazy. In the past, we asked you to remember that, TV channel change had something really cool called roll bar in there. Now you can just think what do I want to do today? I want to create something glitchy. All right, so let me just go and throw an S transition and look in the damage category. And same thing goes with S effect. If you're not a transition person, and you're saying I don't ever use transitions, S effect is exactly the same thing. It's just for creating an effect, so you can grab a pixel sort effect and look at all the presets in there as well. So that's one way that is really cool, I think, about S transition. is looking at all the different presets by groups. And I'll save the best for last is builder effects. So builder effects in this folder is basically custom little S transitions that, you know, we have made, outside artists have made. Our friend Damien, who is going to stream us as well, has made one of these, which I'll step in a second and show you guys, show you what a crazy person Damien is. So we do these internally. We have big Sapphire, you know, editors out there and artists who create their own and then share them with us, and we include in every different release. So all of these are custom little node setups. Let's say I love this RGB split dissolve. I can load that. I can jump in to Builder, and you can see here it is all pre-built for you as well. So you can tweak things. You can just apply it if you want to apply it, or you can get in and rip something apart and kind of reverse an engineer effect and see what effects were used to create it as well, and see what different parameters. Let's go back so I can show you guys Damien's. I think if I type his name in here, it should show you Damien's strip scramble. Give you guys a little preset. A little preview. It's a really cool transition where it takes an image and it rips it apart all into different strips and reassembles it. And if there you go, I'll give you a little cache there. This is a big one, so it's actually asking a lot here to cache this. But let's go ahead and load this, and it's going to take a couple seconds if this doesn't crash, because this is, like I said, there we go. This is definitely in the mind of a crazy person, but shows you how far you can push S transition and builder in here, right? So there is a lot of different effects going in here, but all are labeled really nice. And he's actually doing a very simple technique. He's just repeating it over and over again. And when I say simple, I mean that in the that I would never have thought of doing this or even have the skill to put this together. So definitely not simple. But he's just creating a bunch of mats, and then he's moving those all around and assembling them and compositing them all together and doing one on the front and one on the back and then replicating it. And then actually using a really funny trick, which is he's using card flip transition, but he's actually turning card flip completely off. So it's really a straight cut underneath here. So there's actually no transition. It's more just like a straight cut underneath it, and all his motion is happening on top of it. The beauty with something like this is you can go ahead and hit OK, and you have access now. So it works just like any dissolve. You can adjust the length, you can make it a little bit longer, and you can cache through, and you can use it in your timeline. So you can see why I'm a big S transition fan. It's really, like I said, it's really the one effect you really only need. I think if you were to just delete all your Sapphire transitions and you just use S transition, you would have access to everything you normally have. It's all in there, and it kind of gives you a ton more options to work with as well. So here we go, cache that through. There's Damien's nice big strip scramble transitions. So really cool work on Damien's part to put something together that, and it's in every version of Sapphire right now, so you just kind of know where to get it. So once again, that is under S transition. Drag that on a cut, go ahead and hit edit effect if you want to jump into Builder, or if you're a smarter person than me, you hit load preset and jump into all those presets and use those as a starting point as well. All right, how am I doing on time, Ben? 24 minutes, not bad.
24 minutes, not bad. Yeah. We were worried, but you did it.
Are there any questions? Did anybody have any questions or anything?
People had loads of comments. People were loving it, and just seeing being able to build stuff being able to build a custom transition with such ease has blown a lot of people's minds. One thing that you said that didn't scare me at all, and definitely wouldn't scare anyone else off, is S transition. It's one effect with 30,000 parameters.
Yes. You don't need to know any of that underneath the hood, but that is the way I like. The better way to think of it is it's like it's like a smashed cheeseburger with all the ingredients just smashed together, and they're all different Sapphire effects. So it
There
is
we go.
all of Sapphire smashed together into one effect. And like I said, same thing with S effect, right? So it's just like they're basically two sides to the same coin. The only difference between S transition and S effect is S transition has that dissolve in between or wipe in between. With S effect is just missing that node. Like everything you see in here, like I said, is cross-platform as well. So it's really cool to know that you can make this kind of complex effect in Avid, right? And then you can go ahead and save that preset and share that in Resolve as well. So cool.
Yeah, no, and that little tip about using card flip set to 0 transition just to give you a cut. That's a very, very smart one.
I mean,
and I've definitely stolen that before.
You know what's funny? I'll just show you one quick one as well. Let's jump. Let me just delete this quick because our friend.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to remind people just to hit the like button if you haven't already done so. If you're watching on YouTube, because that's very, very good for us.
Our old friend Larissa was actually watching one of my demos recently and talking about the. So Larissa is the chief developer of Sapphire, and same thing. I was using my little card flip trick, which is like saying like I really love straight cut dissolves. I definitely don't like dissolvey transitions. I like very cutty things because I'm usually trying to cut really fast. And she just said, "Why don't you just turn the dissolve speed up?" So I was like, "What?" So if you turn the dissolve speed parameter up and turn it to, let's turn it to really high, I think like 50, right? We should get a straight cut in there as well. So you don't need to use the card flip hack, right? So this is a way now. If I wanted to now grab blur, and let's just I'm going to do the blur here. I'll do a classic glow here on the end. Now we're getting the type of, let's turn this up a little bit, of course. Now we're getting the type of transitions that I like, which is like a bit more harsh, right? It doesn't have that dissolve in the middle. So it's really doing the blur into glow. I mean, I used to do a lot of these by hand, right? Where I put in an edit and advance 5 frames to the cut and put a little blur with a dissolve or something, or keyframe it and then do it on the other side. But what's neat about this is if we use that little hack where we turn the dissolve speed up to super fast, so fast that it's less than a frame, and then hit OK, this is all malleable, right? So we can make that really quick, which is how you probably want to use something like this, and wait for it to cache through, right? And we have a nice little slick transition there. So thank you, Larissa, for teaching me, as always, that I don't need to use card flip. I can just turn that speed up.
Got one question for you from Bruce,
sure.
though.
Yep.
Bruce is asking if I create a transition in Builder, can I import it directly into Resolve so I don't have to open the Builder again and find it?
So it's everything you create. So first of all, if you create something in Builder, it is now an effect. I'm not sure, Ben. Can you like it? So I know in Premiere you could say drag an effect into a bin. I don't know. Does Resolve
as a favorite
have the capabilities to save things as a favorite? Because if so, then yes.
Not in that sense. I don't think. Yeah. Not in the sense that we need it. But I think like the easiest way is just to bring it on as a S transition and then load the preset.
Yeah, that's going to be your most foolproof way.
Yeah, if you're going to copy it a lot of times, you can always copy that across multiple cut points. But
yep, so you can just take
that's
it
the
here,
way to go.
And you can just do something like that. So you can copy it down. You definitely can save your own presets, and you can put it in your little favorites folder like that for easy access. But I think in Resolve, the best way is to go ahead and load S transition and get it that. In some of the other apps like Premiere and Avid, you can go ahead and pull those into a bin, and you can have a little bin of your favorite effects. And then you don't have to constantly go in to S transitions to load that one. But in Resolve, I think your best way is to save that and then just either copy and paste it downstream or just access S transition.
Cool. Well, should we give away some more stuff then?
Absolutely. All right. Let me switch myself.
Let's do that. I'm gonna.
To us.
Would you like me to vamp for just a minute while you try and find who's come out of the tombola?
Please so.
There we go.
Please do.
All right. Yeah, you're watching Boris FX Live. That was Brian Fox showing some very, very nice stuff with Resolve and S transition. Yes. So the Sapphire transition effect and building your own. If you've just come into the stream, we have a lot of stuff still to come. We are going to be looking at some of the color and blurring, no, the lighting and blurring filters coming up very shortly. I'm also going to be showing a little bit of motion tracking and some more of Ben's Resolve quick tips. So we've all got that to play for. We're going to be giving away some stuff now. If you haven't joined in our competition, now is the time to do it. It's almost time for our big prize, so you've got just a little bit of time left to join our giveaway. We're going to be giving away now an annual subscription of Sapphire, $495 value. Do we have another prize, Brian, or should I talk about the next prize?
Do we have we will be.
Let's talk about the next prize.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, the next prize is obviously going to be the Boris FX Suite. It's everything that we make, including Sapphire, including Continuum, including Mocha Pro, and obviously you're going to be getting Silhouette with that. And come on, Optics is there as well. I mean, never forget Optics. So that's going away, going to one lucky winner today. Annual subscription of $12.95. We're going to be giving away Sapphire right now. And who is going to be the lucky winner? It's going to be Kathy Schmid. Kathy, congratulations. You are our second winner of the day. And you have won an annual subscription to Sapphire, $495 value. Congratulations, Kathy. We will be in contact with you in the next couple of days to tell you how to claim your prize. If you haven't joined in the competition and you want to, here's how you do it. Head on over to borisfxlive.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you'll see this little form. Fill in your details there, and you will be entered into our competition to win the Boris FX Suite. That is the last prize we are giving away today. Obviously, full terms and conditions are found on the website. All right. Well, thanks for that. Let's keep the show rolling a little bit. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some more Resolve here. Let me just come in here, and we should now be seeing my screen. And we're going to be looking at shaping light and looking at blurs. But before we do that, I've got a couple of quick tips for you. And these are going out to some of the questions that we had earlier in the stream. One person was asking, actually, if I come back into my color fuse here, one person was asking what are the advantages of color fuse over using multiple nodes. Well, I think the big advantage for me, well, there are actually a few different advantages, but one of the big advantages is that you don't have to use multiple nodes. You can just have everything in one little interface. The second huge advantage, I think, is this thing here, LUT color space. So there are many LUTs that are created with a particular color space in mind. And with color fuse, you can take that into account by changing up your LUT color space. So if you've got a LUT that was created for linear footage and you're working in sRGB, you don't have to go through any sort of jump through any sort of hoops or anything. All you have to do is just click on the linear down there, and everything's going to work out fine for you. The other thing we've got, and here's Ben's quick tip that I'm not allowed to say, and yet here we are. I'm too far down the rabbit hole now. You can use the Sapphire LUTs even if you're not using color fuse. How can we do that? Well, let's Let's actually come in. Let's go to my other group, shall we? Let's go here. Okay, right. Well, we do that by coming into our preferences. Come into general. We've got a little thing here for LUT locations. I'm going to go add, and I'm going to find my my Sapphire installation, Sapphire 2022.5 OFX. I'm going to come in here. Look, we've got a little folder called LUTs. I'm not going to select that folder because if I did, I'd have all of my LUTs at the sort of big base level. So all of my LUTs would be sort of sat here, disorganized. I don't want that. I'm going to refresh that folder. It's going to throw a little warning for me up here in a second, I'm sure. Oh no, good, excellent, it's not. But there, I've got a little folder just called LUTs, and these are all my colour fuse LUTs that I can now use. Let's just drag that over the top there. Boom. Get rid of these effects. Come in here. Oh, let's get rid of the nodes as well. Get rid of my clips so we can actually see what's going on. And we can sort of just mix that back just using the key output. So that's using color fuse nodes directly as a color fuse LUTs directly as a node in Davinci Resolve. You didn't hear it from me. All right, let's move on to our actual thing. That's a quick tip that I'm going to get in trouble for. Alrighty, cool. Okay, so here's our next shot. So we've got a lot of effects with Sapphire, and when I say a lot of effects, we've got a lot of effects with Sapphire. We have a little look at our filters. Open this up. Come into Sapphire. It just keeps going, and luckily they are broken down into different categories, like the stylized category or the render category, or here the lighting category. So let's have a look at this. Going to come into here. Let's come into our nodes. Just going to work in the clip here, and what I want to do with this one is actually just have a little shaft of light coming down, just to try and add a bit more focus onto our girl here. Like, I like this shot. I think it's great. I just want to add a little bit more focus down onto it. So, I mean, the first thing I'm going to do, first thing I always do is obviously going to do like primary color correction, do the rest of that stuff. So I'm just going to sort of, I'm not going to do a lot with this. Just maybe add a little bit of contrast to it, take the gamma down. I think that's going to be it for now. So I've got my primary color correction here. Excellent. So I can add another node after this, and the node I'm looking for is going to be Sapphire's Spotlight, so S Spotlight. And this has got two little buttons, or two little widgets I can do. So we've got a spotlight with a light. Where's my light shining from? And an aim, where's it aiming towards? And let's just close the node so we've got a little bit more space here. And I can come in and I can arrange this in a sort of place where I sort of want it to be. I can even zoom out just a little bit more. There we go. And have it properly out over here. So let's take the spread angle down. Let's actually fall off width is all right. Maybe the Z there could just come down a little bit more, so we get a bit more of a shaft of light happening here, and the fall off. There we go, something like that. And of course we can, you know, we've got two little things happening here. We've got the area within inside that light getting brighter with the light brightness, and we've also got everything else getting darker with the ambient brightness. So if I take the ambient back up, so I don't want it, you know, it's not a real spotlight. Let's just take that back up to about 0.9, and I can adjust the brightness right about there. So we're not trying to do too much here. I mean, that's the that's the secret, is you never try and do too much with just one node or one effect, because you're very likely to give the game away there. So here, just a quick sort of before and after, and this is looking all right. If we play this back, it's playing back fast, playing back real time still, 24 frames a second, lovely bubbly. But it's not looking 100% real. Now we could come in and we could, come in and do keyframing on all of this stuff, or I could actually just let Mocha and Sapphire do the hard work, because built into actually all Sapphire effects pretty much is Mocha. And if you're not familiar with Mocha, Mocha is it's a tracking and masking system. It's a planar tracker, award-winning planar tracker. Come on, man. So it's a planar tracking system that is used for doing lots of things. When it's inside of Sapphire, it's used for doing two things. It's used for doing tracking, and it's used for doing masking, and sometimes it's used for tracking masks. But here we've got parameter tracking. So we've got 4 different parameters we can track to. So we've got aim 1 and aim 2. So if we've got multiple lights in here, we can aim that there. We've got light 1 and aim 1. I'm going to turn off light 1. I don't really care about that because the light's always going to be shining from one place. And I'm just going to put my aim where I want, or put the aim search area where I want it to track, probably around about this tree stump. And this aim here, I can put that round about where the aim was previously, which is probably round about there somewhere. And then I can just track this through. So we track that now. This is just going to go ahead and very quickly sort of track in my little area. It's not a tricky track at all in this case. Mocha does handle tricky tracks very well, but this isn't a tricky track at all. It's just interesting that it's built directly into an effect, so we don't have to do any other sort of hacks to try and get this working. All I have to do is literally just track it in, say aim uses Mocha 1 or aim 1 uses Mocha, and there it is, tracked in. And so now if I play this back, we turn off our little lights there, let it just sort of cache through and have a little think about it, and we should be able to come in now. Let's just play that through. It's thinking, it's caching, but we should be getting a bit more motion happening over there. So we'll take that through, and it's not just Spotlight that has Mocha built in. Most of the effects do have Mocha enabled, whether it's just for masking or for parameter tracking where it makes sense. So if we take a little look down there, hopefully we should be cached any second now. Getting there, certainly getting there. It's tantalizingly close. In fact, while we're talking about that, no, I'll save that for later. I've got 3 different ways of speeding this stuff up as well, but we'll come to that in a sec. Yeah, so now we've got that playing through. We should see, I mean, it's a subtle effect, it's a subtle change, but we do have that shaft of light actually sticking with the area that we want it to be in. Now, I had a little thing in the chat that someone asked. In fact, it was River Films asked, now add a J.J. Abrams lens flare option. Oh, Mr. River Films, what have you asked for? You know I love lens flares almost above all else. So I'm going to come in with my lens flares. Now, come into a lens flare. We'll have a look at this in a sec. Now, Resolve does have a lens flare built in as well, I do believe. But Resolve doesn't have Sapphire's lens flare built in. Just going to connect this in here just for a second. So this a nice little lens flare. You can see it's doing nice lens flare-y things. The real power of Sapphire's lens flare isn't just in being able to being able to see what it's going here. One of the things that I love about Sapphire's lens flare is actually the depth of its presets. So if we come in, I'm going to hit edit lens now. It's going to take a second just to load that up. Come to me. There we go. There we go. It's always the first time. It just has to have a little think, just to see what's what. Let's have a look at the flare presets. It's not used to looking at my screen so small and cramped. There we go. So if we take a little look here, we've actually got like a ton of things that we've got over here. Let's render that on there, and we can have a little look at what's happening here. In fact, I'm going to cancel that a second because I want to see what's happening on the actual image. I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to get rid of this connection, maybe just disable this one for a second. So now if we come in here, there should be no excuse for Resolve not to show me my things. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, so now I can have a little look, and we can take a look at some of the the different flares that we have available to us. They're categorized, so we've got like new ones that are coming with the new releases. That's nice little ones there. Oh, I do love some of this. We've also got featured ones, which are some of our favorites from the last few releases. Explorer always brings a little smile to my face, but it's not suitable for now, Ben. It's not suitable for now. And there's a big mix of like these stylized flares and also flares that are taken from actual physical lenses as well. So things like the Jupiter lens, the Cower Cinema, here the Cower Evolution. So these are taken from measured lenses to give us all this little look. For this one here though, I think what I want to do is I want to come in, let's find, oh yeah, I want something with a nice bit of raise here. Or I can search this. Let's have a look if I've got an Abrams, if I've spelt that right. Hey, there we go. Some crazy over the top JJ Trek flares. There we go. I don't want that. Don't want that, Ben. No. Don't make me have that. We want this one, I think. So the nice thing about these flares is that, even though they're here, they're still really fully customizable. So if we take a little look at the elements, you can actually see all the elements that this is made out of. And if you don't want a particular element to show, all you have to do is just turn it off. So if let's find something where we can actually see it. Like dim, oh, there we go. Dim central, there we go. Dim shaded poly. Those are all too dim. Turn my hotspot off. There we go. You can actually see that. So no hotspot, but everything else is on. Love the little stretch there. So we can sort of come in and customize this as we want. Now, you'll also see there's another mode for which we've introduced into Sapphire's lens flare recently, which is called the priority only mode. And what this does is it takes away some of the elements that the flare designer didn't think was, you know, they were all really important to the flare, but, you know, maybe not the most important little elements. They're either like small elements that you only see at certain angles, or, you know, just things that sort of pop up or are a little bit slower, for example. So with priority only turned on, we get the full flare. Sorry, with priority only turned off, we get the full flare. With it turned on, we just get the priority elements, and this is usually a lot faster to sort of just work around. So one of the little workflow tips for working fast with this is to have priority turned on, not just in the builder, but we actually, sorry, in the flare designer, but also in Resolve itself. We can turn this to priority only here, and we can work a lot faster with our flare. And then when we're finished with it, we want to actually render this out, we can just turn that back to full flare and get the whole shebang back in. And the cool thing is about the flare designer here is that, like, even the different elements are broken up. So if you want to increase the brightness across the whole flare, you can do that. But if you only want to increase the brightness across the rays, for example, you can just do that here with the raise brightness, maybe touch the hotspot brightness down a little bit. Come back in there, get a nice little flare happening there. It's got Mocha as well, of course. So we can come in, we can take the hotspot. You can see that the hotspot parameter sort of locks into where we had it in Resolve. So all I have to do is change my search area to somewhere where it's going to be suitable. In this case, I'm just going to go to the sort of furthest thing in distance, and then take that back. Let's actually put my cam back on. There we go. I've moved my face over to the other side of the screen now, so I'm not in the way anymore, except I'm completely in the way for this particular effect. So we can just sort of track that in, and you can see the hotspot parameter moving. It's moving very slightly, but it's definitely moving. And then when we add that in together, let's hook all this stuff back up again. Turn this back on. We've now got like our very nice little shaft of light coming in there, with the added advantage of having just the right amount of lens flare as well, just to sell the idea, but not to sort of take us too far. And I kind of like that. Now, when it comes to rendering this, or actually not rendering this, but like working fast, there's a few different ways we can do that. And Resolve has actually brought in more and more ways in recent years as well. If we take a little look at the playback up the top, we've got a couple of different things here. We've got use optimized media if available, and use proxy media if available. And these are two different things. So optimized media is really great for if you're working in a codec that's maybe a little bit not as editing friendly as others. So maybe something like H.264, H.265, like a heavy codec, a codec that takes quite a bit of stuff to decompress. So what you can do is you can let Resolve come in and optimize your media into a more editing friendly codec and use that there. You can also use proxy media as well. And proxy media just renders out like a smaller, lighter version of the files to work with. And going proxy back and forth and optimize back and forth, these are two ways to actually come in and work a bit faster in the clip. So if we take a little look here, let's have a look here. And now I don't actually know how much this is going to come through, because we're already going to be passing this through quite a heavily compressed stream. But if we take a look at her face, like you can see quite a few, artifacts in the face, like compression artifacts in the face. And the reason for that is actually twofold. So I'm going to come into my project settings here, and I'm going to come all the way down in the master settings. And I'm going to come to my optimized media and render cache, because this is where we set up the proxy media resolution and the proxy media format. So I've got this set to quarter res, and I've got my proxy media format set to a light DNX HR SQ, so standard quality. So high quality X, and we've got 444. I also have optimized media resolution set to half, and also set to a different codec as well. So this is where we set up our optimized media and render cache. So if I come out of here, I'm just going to zoom in and pan around a little bit, and I'm going to turn off use proxy media, and I'm going to turn off used optimized media, and let's have a little look what happens here. Well, not a lot. And the reason for that is obviously we're still using our render cache, which we cached to another compressed format. So if I set my render cache to none now, and we have a little look here, it gets a little bit better. It's a little bit better, but it doesn't get as good as you think it should be for this being Ultra HD footage. Because I've used another little trick. And this is the trick that it's actually an old Resolve little trick. And the reason it's here is because it works so nicely. I turned my timeline resolution down to 720p, and this gives me 1280 by 720 processing. So this, like the timeline resolution, you can change at any time that you want to. So I can bring this back up to Ultra HD for Ultra HD processing. And that's not going to be a problem at all. The only thing that's fixed is your timeline frame rate. That stays fixed the moment you put in your first clip. So the timeline frame rate is there from the minute you put in your first clip. The timeline resolution, you can bring this back down. So if I hit save now, all of a sudden, well, look at that. I'm now getting that full frame from the Ultra HD video. And if I zoom back out again here, you can see that even though I was working at a 720p timeline, all of the effects that I added on here, all of the positions, all of that stuff works absolutely properly when I bring that back into Ultra HD. So there's absolutely, no shame in working at lower resolutions if you're trying to get the throughput going in to when you're working with some effects, especially some sort of heavier effect or bigger color node trees. With that being said, there is actually a timeline proxy mode that's meant to do this for you. So off, half res, and quarter res. And this works pretty nicely. It sort of you can see it immediately as well. The only thing with this one though, and I don't know if it's just me or whether there's another reason for it, but I don't seem to get the same sort of speed gains with taking the timeline proxy mode down when I'm working with lots of effects as I do when I literally just come in and take my timeline resolution down here rather than using a proxy. So whether there's a technical reason for that, I would really like to know if you know it, because that's always a bit of a strange one for me. So that's 3 different ways of improving speed. Actually, 4 different ways of improving your speed. I've got a quick one in there for free. So optimize media, proxy media, timeline proxy mode, and also my favorite one, dipping the timeline resolution down while you're working or while you're sort of figuring stuff out, and then popping it back up again when you actually want to see what it's doing properly. The only little caveat to do for this one is that, you know, you can end up rendering out with this timeline resolution here. Resolve is actually very smart about this, though. It does give you a warning. It doesn't just throw you to the lions. If you try and render out Ultra HD and you've got your timeline resolution set to 1280 by 720, it will say, "Are you sure?" Because your timeline is smaller than your output. So you go, "Oh, I should maybe change that back up again." Cool. How we doing, Brian? Have I got time for one last one?
Sure. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Okay, good. I want to come to this clip. This is a real quickie. It's a real quickie. And it's a real quickie because it's one of my favorite things about Sapphire. We got lights, which we've looked at. We've got color and color fuse stuff, which we've looked at as well. We've got glows, which we haven't looked at, but you know, I talk about glows all the time for good reason. But we've also got blurs, and there's a reason that I love using Sapphire blurs. If we play this clip back, in fact, let's not play this clip back at Ultra HD because I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff to it. We'll take a look at this in a second. So if I play this clip back here, maybe Ben, you should not have that one clip just marked out in the timeline then, if you wanted to play it back. All right, Ben, thanks. Come on, get me back into the color room. Thank you very much. There we go. Let's bring me back into Proxy. There we go. Lovely job. Right. Yeah, so I'm gonna come in and use a rack diffuse here, and this is one of my favorite of the blur filters. And the reason for this is that it is just a very nice, natural looking blur. So we've got like a defocus width, which is already just, you know, very silky smooth. I'm going to zoom in a little bit over here. But we've also got things like being able to sort of boost the highlights up. So we get these lovely little circles of confusion. Look at that. So we can sort of bring those in, and we can change the shapes of those as well. So change how that's looking, and come in and just boost the gamma if we need to. Take the gamma down just to bring in some of that stuff, and change the highlight threshold. I like where we are there. I think that's fine. Very nice. And let's just do one last little thing. This is the thing that really helps me to sell this effect, and that's the use of lens noise. So let's take the boost highlights down a little bit, so we've got a little bit more sort of subtlety in this area. So if I bring my lens noise, I'm going to bring this all the way up so you can probably hope to see it. I'm going to take the lens frequency down. So you can see we're adding in little patches of noise into this lens. So this makes it look as if this blur is actually being generated by a real lens rather than just being generated up by computer software. And just adding in a little bit of lens noise. I just zoom in. I forgot one thing. Yeah, a little bit of lens noise, maybe even a little bit of chroma distort as well. We do have color fringing. So it's just to add in like little imperfections into our otherwise perfect blur, just helps to really, really sell this. So I play this through and I want to get a rack focus in. Let's add in a keyframe, the defocus width. Let's bring that back down there. And let's play this through. Let's bring that in. Nice. It's kind of a little bit staccato. I want to add in a little bit of natural look there as well. So if I go into the keyframes here, this is something that's nice. This hasn't always been here. We can change the dynamic attributes, and this lets us just set what type of curve we're going to be working with. So we can ease into the defocus and then ease out again as well. So just by doing something like that, we end up with a much sort of smoother look, and I can probably just afford to come in and change the timing just on the keyframes down there as well. So it's really nice, really interactive. And that's just a lovely little effect. It's a simple little effect, but it's just really nice. And I thought I'd share that with you as well. And that's me done. That's me done. I could talk about this forever, but we do have to stop.
Beautiful, Ben. Beautiful.
Are there any questions, Brian? Are there any questions?
I didn't even get to comment on your lens flares. Beautiful lens flares, and love rack to focus. You know, rack to focus is one of my faves. So you're playing a strength here. One question that came up, which is a definitely good one. When it came up during your lens flare. So we're not just staring at your mug the whole time. How about so like I'm in the edit page, you're in the color page.
Yep.
Does it make a difference?
Yep.
Is there advantages, disadvantages?
No.
What should people use?
It all depends what stage of the what stage of the process you're doing. Like it works in the same sort of way between like something like a lens flare works absolutely in the same way, whatever page you're in, whether you're in edit, cut, fusion, color, that's always going to be the same. When you're doing some effects that are going to span over multiple clips, that's where things start to get a little bit more kind of dicey. I mean, the effects themselves are going to be the same wherever, but if you're using color fuse as part of a bigger color grade, for example, it makes much more sense to put it in color. If you're using it just as to add a little bit of flavor to the edit and you're not doing any more sort of real color correction, then just stick in the edit room and just put it in over the top as an adjustment clip, and that works there. I think that's one of the sort of beauties of Resolve and how Sapphire works with it, is that there is no one right answer. You're going to get the same results at the end of it, but you just have to work your way through depending on what you're most comfortable with. Like the only thing I would sort of say about that is, again, you have to sort of think about the render chain a little bit. So if you're doing lots of color effects, as part of your project, I wouldn't put color fuse inside of edit. I would put that as part of the color, as your regular sort of color grade, just because you have more control of where that fits inside the flow there. But that's basically the only thing. Like the way they work, the way they look, the same wherever.
Cool. No, thank you, Ben. That makes sense. I answered it very quickly with "It's up to you."
Oh, there we go. I mean, there you go. Why say 5 words when 100 will work?
One thing I wanted to bring up, which we haven't talked about before we get to our final prize. So Sapphire 2022.5. This is the current release. that is out right now. Sapphire 2022.5 supports multi-GPU rendering in Resolve, right? So specifically,
it does.
Yeah, it does. If you're on a Windows or a Linux box and you are so fortunate to have multiple NVIDIA cards, you have the big Quadros, or you have a bunch of GTX, Sapphire does support multi-GPUs in Resolve, in Windows or Linux, and on Macintosh as well, right? I would, it really doesn't, there are, it's a little funky with M1s nowadays, not really having multiple GPUs, but there are plenty of people out there with 2019 cheese grater that have multiple cards in there. Sapphire supports Metal, we support CUDA, and you definitely can get added GPU acceleration from the multiple AMD cards inside some of those big cheese graters as well, if you are fortunate enough to have those workstations. I do not over here, my friend.
Let me know when I can push my button, Brian. Let me know when I'm back in a one shot, because I've got my finger over my button here. Go on.
there you go. Boom.
That's how. This is how it looks. Look at that.
I forgot. Some of us on this stream are more fortunate than others, right? I forgot that Ben is utilizing his multiple GPUs as well. So that's good to know if you are so fortunate as to have those cards, which are impossible to get right now to get a single one. So if you're lucky enough that you have multiple ones, Sapphire will support that as well. That is a new feature in 22.5. If you go to the Boris FX website and you go to the Sapphire page, there is a little breakdown. There's some charts in terms of performance. Everybody wants to know, what does this mean for rendering? Is it 2x? Is it 3x? It's a really difficult question to answer. Like, Sapphire's 300 different effects, and it all depends upon which effect you're talking about and what situation you're on. Some, like I will say, like S-Blur,
what size of format you're working with as well.
What size of the frame, how many you're using too. That's a big factor too. Like if you have multiple instances of the same effect, you can start to see some really added benefits of the multi-GPU. But good to know that it is not just one answer to the question. It really depends upon what effect. Like S-Blur renders completely differently than texture clouds, right? So there really are different beasts in terms of that. So there's a full breakdown with the render results on the Boris FX Sapphire page. So head over there if you're interested. If you're lucky enough, like Mr. Brownlee here, to have a beautiful rig to work on. Great job, Ben. Awesome presentation. Really enjoyed it. Love to see the lens flares.
You too, Brian.
Work. Let's stop glad handing and let's give away the final prize, right? What the people,
this is the bit. This is my favorite bit of the stream. This is my favorite bit. I love changing lives, one Sapphire license at a time. In fact, it's not a Sapphire license anymore. It is a Boris FX Suite license. We're going to be giving that away in just a second. If you haven't done so already, please hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying the stream. It does help us out a lot. It costs you nothing. It does make me happy. But we do have our final prize to give away as well. And that is going to be the Boris FX Suite. God, I hope so, because I'm not sure how many times I can say this. There we go. It's an annual subscription. It is $1,295 value, and that's being given away to one lucky winner today. And that lucky winner is, it's exciting, Matthew Treadway. Congratulations, Matthew. You are this stream's lucky winner. You have won an annual subscription of the Boris FX Suite, and you join the annals of our two other big winners today to go into our winners book. We'll be in contact with all of the people who have won stuff today within the next couple of days to tell you how to get your prize. So congratulations to Matthew, congratulations to all our winners today, and congratulations to all of our viewers. I think we've done all right. When we think about how we had to scramble to get this going, I want to say thank you very much to Darren for being in the chat.
Yes,
It was meant to be a
Darren.
guest today. It's been lovely to have you in the chat, and we're looking forward to actually talking with you properly. I had so many questions for you. We'll get to that soon. Also, thank you to Damien, who was almost here as well, but we'll be talking to him soon.
Yes, Damien
Brian,
will be
last
back.
thoughts.
Damien will be back on a later stream. He will definitely be with us, breaking down his movie. He's editing his feature film completely in Resolve, using a ton of Sapphire effects, like Ben mentioned earlier, using the cloud aspect of Resolve. So it'll be very interesting.
Very exciting.
To him. Last question wanted to answer. River Films in the chat says, I never win anything. Do you have a free trial? I feel so bad for you, River Films. So yes, of course, Sapphire has a free trial. Let me break down the limitations for you. It is watermarked, right? So it's going to have a red X on it. And even worse, it's limited to HD. It will render an HD frame, but outside of that, it'll render black. So those are the two limitations of the free trial, but that is, I think it is 30 days with that watermark. I would say the better thing is we do have a monthly trial. So you can jump on Sapphire for $62 a month, right? And you can try it out that way and use it for a month as well. Otherwise, it is a $4.95 subscription. Either the monthly trial or the $4.95 annual subscription, those are both Adobe OFX, right? So that single license is going to get you working in Premiere, After Effects, Nuke, Flame, Resolve, Vegas. What else? What else, Ben?
Did you say Fusion?
Fusion, Mystica, right? Like anything we support on the OFX side, and Adobe, that single license is going to work on that on any one machine. The only real reason to step up to the multi-host Sapphire license is if you want to add in Avid Media Composer into that. That is a separate API, so that's a separate kind of bucket, right? So that really is the advantage to adding in the multi-host license. So that is kind of our confusing licensing broken down for you. So free trial has a watermark and limited to HD.
Well,
I definitely recommend the monthly, jump on for a month and try it out. That's probably the best way. Or continue to watch our streams. We do these things every 2 weeks. And sooner or later, after an infinite amount of time, you are guaranteed to win.
That's good.
Correct? Correct.
That's correct. That's how probability works. Almost.
Does.
Oh yeah, don't forget office hours as well. If you can't get enough of live streams, office hours is every Tuesday. That's where you get to talk to a Boris FX expert about a topic of the week. So this could be Mocha, Silhouette. This could be Sapphire. It could be Continuum. You'll find out where it is if you go over to the Boris FX Learn YouTube channel and subscribe there. You will figure out what office hours is. Definitely worth everyone's time. It's only an hour, and that's not a Boris FX live hour. That is an actual hour where you get a chance to chat to actual Boris FX experts. Alrighty, that's it for now. I want to thank everyone for helping to make this stream possible, and I will see all of you again very soon. My name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX. Take care now.